Hey everyone, check this out. I'm doing a video today on research on pivot point trading. This is how I earn a fortune in Bitcoin. And so I don't look at charts that often, but I wanted to show this to you to give you an example of how I use the demand zones and then the supply zones. Bitcoin, at this moment is trading at like 102, 103,000 approximately in price. But first, a real quick legal disclaimer, got to look at that first. Information provided in this content is for informational and educational purposes only and doesn't constitute financial investment or professional advice, etc. So, read the risk disclosure. All right, so here's a chart, right? So this is running on a 5-minute chart. So you see here's a time frame, the 1 minute, 3 minute, 5 minute, 15, 45 minute, hourly, 4 hours, and daily. So they're all pointing up, And so this chart here represents a 5-minute chart. Between this umber color here and here is what is known as the demand zone. And then up here, between this price here and here, is the supply zone. So it's demand and supply. I'm a buyer of the market or purchaser of Bitcoin between here and here in this umber color. And I tend to be a seller here on the pump when, so it just oscillates between oversold conditions and overbought, demand and supply. So Jessie Livermore, said that whenever I had the patience to wait for what is known as the pivot point, I always made money in my operations. So Jessie Livermore he didn't look at charts. He didn't look at this type of thing, even though this shows visually, the demand zones and the supply zones. Here you can see the lowest price in the demand zone is about 100,750, and the supply zone is just about 103,000. So that's about just close to 3,000 points between the lowest part of demand and then supply zone. So that's a nice price swing. So this is the trade I'm going to talk about here. Obviously, it enters the demand zone and then pivots and then goes into the supply zone. So how do we purchase the market here? So just looking at this at the pivot point. So it's less than or greater than. So I always have open orders limit GTC always to purchase the market at the pivot point. And then if the price of Bitcoin goes, see, this is right now Bitcoin USDT, all right, USD 102,000, so this price changes constantly. It's up for 1,400 points today. But this is the trader's cheat sheet. All right, and this updates dynamically every day. So I use the trader cheat sheet to identify support and resistance levels. And these are synonyms as the demand zone and the supply zone. So you can see this visually. Here's where people want to sell, and then here's where people want to purchase. Down in this area in the demand zone where it retraces, if you're forced liquidated on margin, I have my pivot points here to purchase Bitcoin as people are forced liquidated on leveraged exchanges. So here's what I do. Again, here, let's look at this. I'll have an open order to purchase, and I'll talk in whole coin terms or dollar terms so you can get a perspective on this. So again, I purchase at the pivot point, we'll say 1 Bitcoin. Then here's the pivot point. The first support point is here. See, that's lower price. So I have a limit order to purchase 1 Bitcoin here at the pivot point, and 1 whole Bitcoin here at pivot point 1. Then this is lower price here at support 2. So then I purchase 2 Bitcoin here at the second support point, and then I purchased 3 Bitcoin here at 97,199. Keep in mind these numbers, the pivot point and these numbers change every day because the price action of markets. conversely, less than or greater than. Right now you can see that pivot point 1, resistance point, Bitcoin is greater than pivot point 1, or the resistance point, which is 102,354.55, and is now trading at 102,930. So what it wants to do is it wants now to break above the pivot point, which it did, the second pivot point. So like a magnet, it's drawn to this price point, which is the third or second pivot point resistance level. And then the next area is here, the third pivot point resistance level. So what's wrong with purchasing the market at 97,199 at the pivot point, and then being a seller at 104, close to 105,000. So how many points is that? It's 7, it's 3 plus 5, it's 8,000 points between pivot point resistance here and all the way low to support points. So over the last couple of days, I've been purchasing Bitcoin at the pivot points, always here at the pivot point. And I bought the dip here, 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 and here. So I have price fills all across here. As the dippy dip transpires, I'm able to accumulate Bitcoin. So let's look at how these numbers are kind of reflected on a chart visually so you can see this. So look, again, the demand zone is the same thing as support, and here's supply. So whenever the market enters the demand zone, and I'm going to put links for this chart online, it's on YouTube, it's great. And you can see here it has an oscillator here. So whenever it enters the demand zone between this color bar band here, it's umber from this price to this price, I set my pivot points, and I was able to purchase the market in this price before the buy signal comes in. So this chart uses an algorithm that gives you buy and sell signals. So what's wrong with purchasing, we'll say 1 Bitcoin here, and then you sell 1 here. See, this says TP, that stands for take profit. So you sell half your Bitcoin here, and then you sell the other half here on the pump. The market deteriorates. It didn't go into the demand zone. It told you to exit the market, so you sit tight, and then you back into the market here at this price at 102,000, and then it pumps to 103,250. That's well over 1,000 point pump between here and here. What's wrong with purchasing? Every time the market gives a buy signal, you purchase it here and here. These are pivot points. So I have orders to, I sold some Bitcoin this morning here, and I purchased some earlier here, and I set these prices here on the pivot points. These things are the market, it always wants to go back to the pivot point. So Jessie Livermore, if you've ever studied such, this is his type of trading style where markets are never too high to buy and never too low to sell. And his quote was, whenever I had the patience to wait for the pivot points, I always made money in my operations. So it's an interesting trading style. I've been using it for years. And my cost basis right now in Bitcoin, Bitcoin's trading at 102,000 here USD. I'll show you the price. All right. Now, of course, this is, for December 16th, 2024. But Bitcoin, look, in crypto, the trader's cheat sheet is trading at 102,640. My average cost basis using the pivot points right now is approximately 61,000. So I have a solid 40,000 point profit in my Bitcoin position because I use this pivot point to purchase the market. So if you're new to trading and you're trading on the margin and you're getting stopped out, so let's say you purchase the market here at, at 103,000 approximately, right? And then it dips. Here you get, if you're leveraged, you get force liquidated here, the pivot point, and then here, and it dips down below these support levels. This is where I'm a buyer of Bitcoin when people are liquidated. They're just dynamically updated the price. So the Bitcoin pivot points still remain the same. So every day I just cancel my orders and then reset the pivot points. And it's fairly simple. It takes me like 5 minutes a day to cancel the orders and then reset my limit GTC orders here, here, and here, and here. And I don't care about it, the pricing on the chart is something like, look, again, pivot points. All through here is where I set my pivot points. There were people this morning, back here when the price deteriorated, they were liquidated. And this is where I'm setting my pivot points to purchase the market at these levels here, doing the exact opposite. And then when it trades greater than the pivot point, then it goes back up. So I have now, conversely, I have limit GTC orders to sell some Bitcoin at 103,392.13, and then at 104,932. I believe that would be a breakout to a new all-time high. Now, I don't go all in and all out. Again, my average cost basis Bitcoin is like 61,000, so I don't exit the entire market. Jessie Livermore's famous quote too was, you won't know a market until you're in it. So I know the Bitcoin market very well because I also do dollar cost averaging. So I purchase Bitcoin every day, and so that it smooths out the price that I own Bitcoin at. So again, combining the trader's cheat sheet, all right, using the ability to identify key support and resistance levels, I'm able to purchase Bitcoin consistently on the dippy dip at these levels here. At not the price. I don't care so much about the price. I want to be able to purchase the market here at support, support, and support. It's like 1, 2, 3. So as the market dips below the pivot point, I'm a buyer here, here at the pivot point, here, here, and here. And then as the market deteriorates in price, I take the price amount that I purchase up. So I do it opposite. Everyone else gets liquidated here in this zone here in the demand zone, and I'm a buyer of such. So right now, look, it gave a buy signal here on the chart. So when is the next sell signal going to come in where it tells you to sell the market? I don't know, but that's the point, is that as soon as it enters the supply zone, I have limit GTC orders. See, the supply zone here is 103,250. So let's look at my limit orders. I have limit orders to sell some Bitcoin at the second pivot point, at what is known as resistance on this trader's cheat sheet, at 103,392. So did it achieve such? Look. So here's the pivot point right here to 103,250. So 103,392. So it's close, but it didn't get there. But I still have the orders out there to sell at 104,932, 103,392, and I sold some this morning at the first resistance level, and then it parsed it to the upside. So what do I have to do? Jessie Livermore said, it's sitting tight. I gotta wait. It takes, look at this, from this demand zone here, the low, from here, all the way lowest demand zone. This is a 5-minute chart, so each bar you see here is 5 minutes. It took time from the market price to go from here, the lowest price in the demand zone, to all the way here to the highest price in the resistance or supply zone. So it takes time. You got to sit tight. So I'm always in the market, and so is it going to? Here's a question: Is the price of Bitcoin in the future going to issue a sell signal on this chart? Yeah, Is it going to issue a buy signal when it's in the demand zone? Yeah, it does here, right here. So also with this chart, I'll put a link on this thing, it's great. It's whenever the purchase signal or buy signal comes in when it's inside of the demand zone. You see this one happened here when it's outside of the demand zone. It did well, I guess about 1,000-point pump, but this one was inside of the demand zone. So it tends to be much more robust of trades here to purchase a market in the demand zone as compared to when it's outside of the demand zone. So here it told you to exit the market here. So you purchase it here and you exit here, and then you go 100% into cash, and then you go long the market here at a higher price, and then you get the pump. So this is classic momentum swing using a chart. I'll put a link in the chart. This chart's on YouTube. And so again, Livermore, he didn't look at charts, he just looked at price. Look, support and resistance levels, Momo swing, price. Jessie Livermore just cared about price. All he cared about was the pivot point. Markets are never too high to buy. If Livermore purchased this market, here Bitcoin at 100,814 at the pivot point, and it broke above the first resistance, he would add to the position because the market is telling Livermore that it wants to go higher to the next pivot point, which is the resistance level. So, and then once it trades greater than this, then it wants to go to the next level of resistance. And then if it goes greater than the third resistance level, I think that would be price discovery because it would be a new all-time high for Bitcoin. And Livermore would then purchase the market greater than 104,932 because the famous quote is that a market is never too high to buy. So he would purchase many times markets at new all-time highs. So some of my videos in the past, you saw my quote was, if it traded, the all-time high for Bitcoin was approximately 74,000, and if it traded greater than 74,000, it was going to pump. And it went to like from 74,000 to about 103, 104,000. That was thousands of points of profit because the market's never too high to buy on the breakout. So again, let's look at this. It hasn't issued on this chart on 5 minute. It gave a purchase signal at 102. And now it's at 102,764. So that's 764 points. It was higher. So when at what time, how long will it be, or at what price is it going to issue the next sell signal, the exit? I don't know. You know, I just know that I have my limit GTC orders to purchase down in here in the demand zone. So I got to sit tight and let the market come to me at the pivot point, the resistance, the support points. Is the price of Bitcoin going to go less than the pivot point? If it does, I have limit GTC orders to purchase the dip here at pivot point support 1, 2, and 3. And the thing that I emphasize is the pivot point number. Again, all of these numbers, they change every day. The support and resistance levels are recalculated about every 24 hours because they're key turning points. So every day around 7 p.m. or so, they issue new pivot points. So I cancel my orders again, and then just place the orders to purchase the market here and at the pivot point. Greater than or less than. If it's greater than the pivot point, like it is here, Livermore would purchase the market on the breakout greater than the pivot point and then greater than the resistance point at 102,354, and now it pumps to a higher price, and then he would do the breakout here, purchase greater than this price, and then purchase certainly greater than this price here, and then that's again price discovery. So that's basically my trading system. it allows me to earn a fortune in Bitcoin and be able to do Momo swing. And I combine dollar cost averaging again. So, it's like I set it and forget it on the exchanges and just every day purchase Bitcoin. So that gives me an average price. And then I also, again, I know it's repetitive, but then I just set my pivot points down here in the demand zone. And then I sit tight and I wait for the market to go into the supply zone. And the supply zone again is represented here at these pivot points. So that's basically my trading system. It's so simple. And again, not financial advice, but just pivot, man, Momo swing. And these pivot points can be done on much longer time frame too, rather than just a daily, go weekly, monthly, or, much longer time frames. But, I do Momo swing. I like to purchase the market here, all through here. This is where I want to purchase the market, in the demand zone. See this demand? That's where I want the market. Then I want to sell the market here in the supply zone. Use my finger. Then when I do take a profit out of the market, which I do all the time, I always purchase, you can hear this, I always purchase more of these, which are the American Eagles, the silver bullion. So these things, they're like 10 American Eagle coins here. These things work great as a hedge. I don't use stop orders, and I don't trade on the margin. And because of that, I'm able to accumulate a lot of precious metals in my speculations. This helps to anchor my portfolio. So that's how I roll. My game is to be able to accumulate more precious metals and to accumulate more Bitcoin at better prices, and then engage in Momo swing again at the pivot points. So yeah, I cheat. Look, I use a trader's cheat sheet on bar chart. So that's how I roll. Again, can't emphasize this enough. Support and resistance level, price. This is all that Livermore looked at, was price. The pivot points, look. These are the numbers. They're like secret numbers. If you learn to identify these every day and then place your orders accordingly, see, when you trade on the margin and you get liquidated, I got my orders here at 97, 98, and 99 to be able to purchase the dippy dip. And then again, you're being liquidated down here at less than 101,000, and I'm sitting there here at the support level 1, 2, and 3, purchasing the liquidated Bitcoin at better prices. So it's just very mechanical system, simplistic in its design. And again, I also combine it with dollar cost averaging. And I know my videos are repetitive, but I'm just doing a teaching on this for my viewers. Not financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor, informational purposes only. I'm an entertainer. But again, look, learn, support, demand zone, supply zone, pivots between demand and supply, demand and supply. Look at the pivot here. Look, it pivots here from this price here. Profit, take profit, take profit, retraces, doesn't go into the demand zone, and then gives another purchase signal here. This purchase signal here is better because it's inside of the demand zone as compared to this one, this purchase signal. They're both great. This one produced 1,000-point profit. This one produced from 101,250 to 103,250. That's a couple thousand-point trading profit. So it takes time. It's going to take time for the next time for this market to go from here and then to dip into the demand zone. It takes time. So that's it. Simple. So that's all I have for today, everyone. Just doing a teaching on the demand zones for supply and the pivot points Again, look at, these are the secret numbers. And I'll put all the links for this process here for bar chart. The trader's cheat sheet. Identify support and resistance. All right. Support, resistance level, price. I know it's repetitive, but I'm just kind of, and here I set all of my trades at these prices here. The dippy dip, anything less than pivot point, I'm buying in the market. Where you're getting liquidated, I'm a buyer. So wherever you have your stop orders at, I purchase. So that concludes my presentation for today on pivot point trading and dollar cost averaging. So tell me what you think. It's a longer video, might have Snorefest in there, but it's worth learning this, and I share that with my viewers, so I don't have to guess, when do I purchase here? Do I purchase the market here? Do I purchase it here? Or do I just sit tight, like Livermore said, and wait for the market to come to me at the pivot points? So that's a classic Livermore trading system, the pivot points. So that concludes my video. It's running a little longer, about 26 minutes and everything, but I just wanted to share this with my viewers and tell me what you think. And it's a wonderful trading system. It works great for me. I've used it for years and years. Dollar cost average Bitcoin every day, plus set my pivot points. And with that, it's allowed me to have an average cost basis of about 61,000 in Bitcoin. So it's a good about 42,000 points of trading profit that I'm sitting on right now, just because using a trader's cheat sheet combined with support and resistance and the dollar cost averaging process. It's a business process basically based on computer science. Support, resistance, support and resistance. Thanks everyone. Let the trend be your friend. Thanks.